All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about the language of identity. And look, this isn't just about the LGBTQ plus community, it's really about all of us. The words we choose, they're not just words, right? They're huge. They're about respect, about understanding, and honestly, about finding where you belong.
I mean, just let this sink in for a second. For many, finally finding the right word for their identity can feel like coming home. Wow. That right there, that's the whole point. We're not here to just memorize a vocabulary list. We're here to get a feel for what that means, that incredible feeling of finally truly being seen for who you are.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll talk about why these words are so important. Then we'll get into sexual orientation and gender identity. After that, a few key community terms, and we'll finish up with the big one, how to be an awesome ally.
Sound good? Let's do it.
All right, first things first, why are we starting with language? Well, it's simple, really. The words you pick, or, the ones you don't pick, they can either make someone feel amazing or completely tear them down. The impact is real.
And here's the bottom line. Using respectful language literally creates safer spaces for people. When you actually make the effort to use the words someone uses for themselves, you're sending a powerful message. You're saying, hey, I see you, I respect you. And trust me, that kind of validation, it can change everything for someone. Okay, so to really get a handle on all this, we've got to start with a super important distinction. This is one that trips a lot of people up, but it's crucial. And this is it. This is maybe the most important concept to nail down. Sexual orientation, that's about who you're attracted to. Gender identity, that's about who you are. See the difference? They are two totally separate things, not connected. So let's start with some of those sexual orientation terms. First up, lesbian. This is a word for a woman who's attracted to other women. Pretty straightforward. Then we have the term gay. Now, a lot of the time, you'll hear this for a man who's attracted to other men, but it's also used as a kind of catch-all term for anyone attracted to someone of the same gender. Okay, what about bisexual? This means someone is attracted to more than one gender, and it's so important to see this as its own complete identity. And then there's pansexual, which kind of expands on that idea. It means attraction to people regardless of their gender. So for someone who's pansexual, gender just doesn't really play a role in their attraction. And we also have asexuality. You'll often hear it shortened to ace. This is for someone who feels little to no sexual attraction. And, it's really important to remember that this, like all orientations, is a spectrum. There's a lot of variation. All right, let's switch gears. We've talked about attraction. Now let's get into that second big concept we mentioned, gender identity. And just to say it again, this has nothing to do with who you're attracted to. This is all about your own personal internal sense of who you are. So a transgender person, or just trans for short, is someone whose gender identity is different from the sex they were assigned at birth. You can think of it as a mismatch, right, between who they know they are inside and the label they were given when they were born. Now, the opposite of that is cisgender, or cis. This just means your gender identity does match the sex you were assigned at birth. It's a really helpful word because it gives us a clear way to talk about the experience of, not being trans, without making it sound like one is normal and the other isn't. And then we have non-binary. This term is for anyone who doesn't fit neatly into those two traditional boxes of man or woman. It's a huge umbrella term, really, that covers a whole beautiful spectrum of different identities. And under that non-binary umbrella, you'll find all sorts of identities. For example, gender fluid. That's someone whose gender identity can change over time. Or agender, which is someone who doesn't identify with any gender at all. And all of this diversity is exactly why pronouns are so important. Using the right ones, she, her, he, him, they, them, it's just a basic, fundamental sign of respect. Okay, so we've got sexual orientation and gender identity down. Now let's zoom out a little and touch on a couple of really key terms for the community as a whole. You've probably heard the word queer. These days, it's often used as an inclusive, all-encompassing term for anyone who isn't straight or cisgender. But this word has a really powerful backstory. For a long, long time, queer was used as a weapon, as a slur. But the community took it back. They reclaimed it and transformed it from something meant to hurt into a word of empowerment and solidarity. It's just an amazing example of taking back your own narrative. And that leads us to another super important concept, intersectionality.
It's basically the idea that none of us are just one thing, right? Your identity is made up of all these different parts: your race, your gender, your sexuality, your ability, and all those parts overlap and intersect to create your unique experience in the world. So a person isn't just gay, they might be a gay Black man, and that experience is going to be different from someone else's.
Okay, so we've got the definitions, we've got the concepts. But what do we do with all this? Knowledge is great, but it's not enough. So for this last part, let's talk about the most important thing of all: how to put all this understanding into action, how to be a good ally.
Because being an ally isn't something you are, it's something you do. It's a verb. It means you're actively listening to people in the community. It means you're doing your homework and learning. It means speaking up against hate. And most of all, it just means respecting people for who they tell you they are.
And that's really what this all boils down to: getting the language right. That's step one. That's the start. The real work, the real journey, is putting that respect into practice every single day. So I want to leave you with this one question to think about. How are you going to use language, starting right now, to show respect and to help make the world just a little bit kinder and more inclusive for everyone,